just can't breathe.
Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake?
Yo guys, what is up? Max on a Borderlands 4 video, and today we're going to be going over my updated Nuclear Winter Harlowe guide. Now, prior to this video, I put out a leveling guide that was leveling 1 through 50. It had some quality of life added to the build, and didn't really get into min-maxing. This is now the ultimate Vault Hunter rank 5 Harlowe version. The gear that we're going to be using is more specific. We're more min-maxing our damage to just delete the hardest tier of difficulty in the game, and we'll be covering everything you need to know. So I hope you guys enjoy the breakdown. Let's get right into it. So we're gonna start with an overview of the build, because my decisions might look really weird if you don't understand exactly how everything is functioning here. So this build is entirely based around neutron capture. Basically, this allows us to store the damage of our chroma accelerator as damage into our gun, and that is a flat amount of damage. It doesn't deal damage based off of how hard I hit. If I shoot with a sniper rifle or a level 1 pistol, the amount of damage that this is attached to our bullets is the exact same. What scales this damage is increases to skill damage, increases to elemental damage, increases to radiation damage, and one of the biggest ones is fire rate. Because this procs on every shot, if we're shooting faster, we're going to be proccing this more often. And so some of the big things that we're going to be focusing on with this build is increasing our elemental damage, our skill damage, our action skill damage, and our fire rate, so that we can use this, bump up our guns a lot, and then shoot really, really fast, proc this a ton, and then get our action skill back instantly. On our current setup, the way that we were built, we have a 100% uptime on our action skill and this buff. If I use my action skill, you can see that I'm on a 30-second cooldown. If I shoot this guy, my action skill is back. We have infinite action skill spam, infinite buff of neutron capture, and we just have a lot of quality of life. However, what we're not going to be really focusing on too much on this build is gun damage, and that's something to understand, is because the gun that we're shooting is doing 5% of the damage that we're actually dealing. Most of our damage is coming from neutron capture, so now that you kind of understand that, let's get into the more specifics. So starting in red tree, we're going to be putting 5 points into cyclotron. This gives us 20% increased fire rate. Massive for us. Fire rate is a huge part of our DPS. We're also going to be putting 5 points into fuzzy math, which gives us a ton of status effect chance. The reason that this is important is because we're going to be using the Skeptic class mod. Shooting enemies with an active status effect restores 5% of our action skill cooldown. If we're not proccing status effects, we're not restoring our cooldown. And so we're going to be speccing that, even though there's a bunch of other cool points here. This gives us a whole lot more quality of life for spamming our action skill, which is a big part of our damage. And then we put 5 points into field ready prototype for 30% action skill damage as well. Those points are going to get us down into our middle tree, where we're going to put points into poison sun. This gives us more radiation damage and a radiation chance. Now we are proccing status effects like crazy, but this 30% irradiation damage is going to apply to Chrome Accelerator, which will then double dip neutron capture. So this is really great. We don't care about gun critical hits because our gun damage doesn't matter. We're also going to put Chain Reactor. We deal bonus radiation damage to entangled enemies. That's great. Fizzle Launcher is going to give us radiation darts, more radiation damage for us. We put in Demon Core. Demon Core is busted. It's perfectly balanced. Demon Core gives us radiation darts off of our unstable energy pocket. These will shoot 14 to 16 darts at enemies while it is traveling. And if you note that our Chroma Accelerator does a detonation, the massive nuke detonating is 8,900 damage. However, the one dart is 4,400. So every 2 darts is basically us detonating a chroma accelerator. Getting this is a massive damage increase for neutron capture because now our action skill does so much more damage. However, these radiation darts that are proccing are considered skill damage, meaning that we're buffing them with skill things, but that also means that they proc mechanical brilliance. Whenever Harlowe damages an enemy with a skill, she gains increased skill damage. This is another 50% damage that we're feeding into both our chroma accelerator and our neutron capture. So this just like supercharges our damage. Now, basically with this tree, we have enough damage, which is why we're going to start going into blue tree for some extra quality of life. Now, on the leveling build that I posted, I was having survivability issues, and that's what our blue tree is going to solve for us. So we're going to be putting 5 points into Make Extraordinary. This gives us crit chance with our skills. Neutron capture is considered a skill. So if we use this and then blast this, I'm going to shoot this guy in the foot. Look at all those crits. We can now crit on anything with the damage that matters because Make Extraordinary procs off of our neutron capture. We're then going to put Bright Future. Whenever we trigger or re-trigger an action skill, we gain increased fire rate. Note that this is 48% fire rate currently for me, and neutron capture is 8 seconds, so we basically have 100% uptime on Bright Future, which is a ton more fire rate. And then we also get Ripple Effect. Whenever we kill an entangled enemy, that entangle gets spread to another enemy. This is going to help with entangle uptime on enemies. The real reason that we are going to be going through here, I mean, the Bright Future is insane, but we also pick up Keep Ice on that. This is going to give us all cryo damage dealt, Gil's lifesteal. If Harlow's health is full, we gain Overshield. This giving us lifesteal on all of our cryo damage, plus quantum immortality whenever we entangle an enemy. She gains health regen. This doesn't look like a lot of health regen. It does seem if like it is getting benefits from multiple enemies being entangled. I'm not quite sure, but I tried without this, only speccing lifesteal on this, and it just didn't feel great. So we're gonna go quantum immortality for extra health regen and more lifesteal. Once again, damage is not an issue. We need some quality of life. We want some survivability, and this has helped tremendously, these 2 points. And that is our skill tree. Note that our class mod's giving us 1 point into stun lock. Whenever we critical hit an enemy, we put them into stasis. Stasis is basically 0 point. The enemy floats up. So now we have even more crowd control, and our action skill can practice. So our action skill critting and going around hitting enemies with Demon Core, all of a sudden you got a bunch of enemies that are in stasis. So it's really nice. Small little red tree change that I just realized. Neutron capture doesn't double dip field ready prototype because it's action skill damage. However, it will double dip enriched because our chroma accelerator deals radiation, so this will get bonus, and then neutron capture does radiation, so this will get the bonus again. So we're, instead of putting these 5 points into field ready prototype, we're gonna put 2 into elementary and then 3 into enriched, which will actually net us out even more damage. Now let's talk weapons for this build. Now, there's a lot of cool legendaries in this game. I have yet to find a single one that is better than purple Vladov SMGs. What you're looking for is the Buri Vladov SMG, and these are incredible for this build. One, because they can roll elemental, meaning that like we want to have a radiation one and a cryo one. If you could get these with like a Jacob's part, that would be sick, or like a Toric part. Mine are just like basically just tasers. But the reason that these are so good is, one, they have a really high fire rate, which is perfect for us. That's what we care about. But they also come with the taser attachment. Now, the taser attachment, every tick of it counts as gun damage. It is dealing gun damage. So, for example, every tick of a taser is proccing our neutron capture, and we can fire multiple tasers. So just the tasers alone will kill most things on Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. I have one-shot Vault Guardian bosses on Ultimate Vault Hunter 5 with just the tasers because they proc neutron capture so quickly. But if you want to get really overkill with it, you shoot your neutron capture and then you proc your tasers and then you fire your Vladov SMG with crazy fire rate, and the damage that you get from all of the tasers proccing neutron capture plus your fire rate proccing neutron capture is just ridiculous. It is really, really silly how much DPS we put out because our fire rate is so crazy. So I have a radiation one, which I mainly use for bossing, and like if I'm not having any issues with survivability or enemies, and then a cryo one, which you can use for survivability, because all of your shots are going to be healing you. You shoot really, really fast, so you get a ton of survivability with a cryo one because we're spec'd into like cryo lifesteal. So that is kind of the two main weapons that I'm using. Some other ones to call out are the Rainbow Vomit. This is a shotgun. I'll have the like quest info. It is from a side quest boss, but this drops in random elements. You can get it in cryo and radiation. This is a really nice shotgun on Harlowe. And the other weapon is the Chaosin. This is also a Vladov SMG that gets Torg parts. It can come elemental. I have farmed 10 of these now, and I've yet to get a single one in cryo or radiation. They by default seem to drop in non-elemental, but a Chaosin in cryo or radiation would also be really good for this build. Now for our gear, as I said before, we're using the Skeptic class mod. This is a bunch of things for slamming. We don't really care about any of that. What we do care about is when we shoot an enemy with an active status effect, we restore 5% of our action skill cooldown. Once again, perfect for Vladov SMGs because they fire really, really fast. We shoot our action skill, it goes down, and then we get it back. And so that's why fire rate and Vladov SMGs are so good for us. Quick note, you can use the atomic driver for bossing. This will drain all of your health in return to amp up the damage of Chroma Accelerator, hence amping our neutron capture. This is about a 70% increase in damage for the Chroma Accelerator. So this is massive. However, if you don't like one mag the boss while you're wearing this class mod, then you've got to wait like 30 seconds to use your action skill again. So I don't use this all that often just because I have the damage without it to one mag bosses. And if I don't, I can just use my Chroma Accelerator again. But for the absolute most single target damage, you do want to use a driver. It'll like greatly increase your damage. Now for the rest of the stuff, our shield is going to be the Super Soldier Shield. This drops from Vile Lictor. It reads, when energy shields are full, grant an overshield. When energy shield is full, grant 20, or when our energy shield is full, we get 25% fire rate, 25% movement speed, and we regen ammo. So we get movement speed and fire rate. The ammo's not gonna like do anything for a Vladov because we're shooting so fast. But 25% fire rate is awesome for us. We're also going to be using it for an enhancement. The Bullet Hose. Guns with Vladov licensed parts have a 30% chance to add an extra projectile per shot. Note that we are using this and not the like fire rate one because we have enough fire rate, and we're not using the one with the underbarrel damage because the taser is not actually dealing the damage for us. It's proccing the neutron capture quickly. And I rolled mine with even more gun fire rate. The rest of the rolls don't really care. I care for it, but 25% extra fire rate and a 30% chance to proc an additional hit of neutron capture, which is basically what that's doing for us. Next on my rep kit, I just went for survivability. I've got leech and rep kit cooldown so that I can have high uptime on my rep kit. You don't need action skill cooldown. You could get like a damage roll here, like an elemental damage roll and fire rate if you wanted for bossing. But mainly I'm just using leech and rep kit cooling so that I have more uptime on my survivability. We're also going to be using 3. I haven't gotten the rest of our set bonuses done, but the big one is we're going to be using bullets to spare. This gives us more fire rate, more mag size, and more fire rate increased by our magazine size, which our Vladovs have like big mag size. The one that I'm used for bossings got 58 in the mag. So our guns just turn into absolute bullet hoses. It is ridiculous how fast we are firing on this setup. And once again, all of that is not to make the gun deal more damage, it's to proc more neutron captures. I don't have my like 2-piece firmware bonus, but if you did want to get one, I think Rubber Band Man would be really nice for an extra damage reduction and 5% lifesteal, which is pretty huge just from a firmware bonus. The other one that is nice would be the God Killer. God Killer gives you 10% damage dealt to badass enemies and 10% reduced damage taken from badass enemies. There is one for action skills, but it's not like super great. You could go for that as well. The Goo JFC gives us 15% action skill damage. This is decent, but action skill damage is purely for action skills. It doesn't apply to skills, so it's not like as good as it sounds. So I'd probably go for the damage reduction and lifesteal just to get some extra quality of life on the build. We already like rip everything. And lastly, I am using the Penetrator Augment Amp Payload Knife. Basically, with our action skill, we have like a 65% crit chance. This makes it 100. This is what I use for bossing. You don't need to be throwing this at mobs because, you know, it's not necessary. But for bossing, we throw this at anything that's super tanky, and all of a sudden, now our action skill is guaranteeing critting, and all of our other things are guaranteed critting. One thing that I've found on this build that's really surprising is we proc massive radiation dots. I've seen radiation dots hit for like 15,000 per tick. With Dirty Bomb, that's a ton of extra damage for us. And so status effects critting as well with the Penetrator Knife is pretty huge. For our specializations, I don't have enough points to get like all of the things that I want. The most important ones for this specific build are going to be a Honed Mind, which gives our action skills a chance to crit. This we don't really care about. What we do care about is 50% action skill critical hit damage. That is massive. Some of the other buffs that we're going to want is Contamination. I don't have this yet. Critical hits grant increased status effect application chance. More status effects for us is huge, and we're critting all the time. So Contamination would be really great. And I also really want the best defense. The Vault Hunter gains increased damage dealt based on the fullness of their shield or health. We have a ton of healing, and this is just 30% more damage for all of our things. For right now, I'm rocking like In the Zone, which gives us more gun and crit damage, which is decent. And then we get some extra action skill cooldown and some more action skill damage based off of our gun damage. But the real kicker here is just coming all the way down for Honed Mind for 50% more action skill damage. And then we're going to go pick up Contamination and the best defense once we have some more points. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what kind of build you want to see next, and I will catch y'all later. Take care. Bye.